Welcome. I'm not fully back off hiatus, but this is episode 88, season 9, episode 4 of my Trinity Continuum adventure, Rise of the Iron Tyrant workshop. Oh, it's been a while. My notes say the last time I streamed this was the 5th of October 2024, which, nice little birthday present from me. Let me tell you, Burnout, that's just the best birthday present you could ever give yourself is Burnout. The TLDR is I had Burnout, and a month into my Burnout, we got a kitten, and that didn't help, really, because she had so much energy. I mean, she still does have a lot of energy. She's not even a year old yet, but yeah, it prolonged things, let's say, having a kitten to keep track of while also struggling with brain fog and all of the usual stuff that follows burnout. I was medicated. I'm coming off the medication now, but hey, if you're watching this and you're creative or you're thinking about being creative, look after your mental health. Don't do what I did. Just listen to your body, otherwise it will force you to. And take it from me and many other creatives, if you stop only when your body tells you to stop, your recovery will be much, much longer than it would have been if you had taken a break or two beforehand. So, yes, the economy is terrible, the world is dark, and we all need to make sweet, sweet money so we can, I don't know, eat and have housing. But just take breaks where you can. Please look after yourself. Please don't do what I did. I'm the object lesson to not follow. Speaking of object lessons and not following me, there's no segue there, I just wanted to say speaking of. I did not speak for Onyx Path, nor is the project discussed in the show official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own, and this material will be available to buy on StoryPath Nexus eventually. I'm merely a grateful fan of the platform. I am disabled, I do experience muscle spasms, twitches, things of that nature. They can lead to a worsening of my normal stutter, slurring of speech, things of that nature. I do also struggle with multiple trains of thought. I will try to follow one to its weaving, winding end before jumping onto the next. If at any point during this show there is something you would like to talk about, a point you raise, a thought you have, please do raise it. I will try to acknowledge it, but I will absolutely have to finish what I'm talking about first, otherwise I'll forget. I think that's kind of the main stuff. I don't know how much longer I'm able to get this energy going. I thought, I temporarily back off hiatus for a one-off because I have the time. And, for people who've not seen the show before, it might be nice to have some kind of energy, but I'm a really low energy person. Well, no, I'm a high energy person, but I'm very chill and vibe-based, as my partner pointed out. So, yeah, make of that combination what you will. Before we get started, the show format's going to change. I'm not going to do what I used to do. I'm not going to go through the entire Monday meeting notes. This is a writing workshop, gosh dang it, so we're going to write. However, this is also on the Onyx Path Onyx Path Twitch channel, so I will talk about important things for the Onyx Path community before doing anything else, because that's how we pay the bills. So, as ever, as always, the best place to get any updates on the Onyx Path are the Monday meeting notes. The two kind of key takeaways from the Monday meeting notes this week: Monster Kingdoms being the third game, I think it is. Hang on, I'll just check the channels on the Onyx Path Discord server. Yes, the third game in the Earthbane cycle, Onyx Path's in-house StoryPath Ultra Fantasy TTRPG, will be the next crowdfunding campaign. As with the other two, that will probably be on backer kit. So if you're a fan of the world below or at the gates, go and keep an eye on the Monday meeting notes, keep an eye on Onyx Path's social media channels to know when that backer kit campaign goes live. Also, I have a new thing for my microphone, and it's dangerous because it's just a boom arm, but it's a fidget toy as well because I can move it. So if you see my microphone moving in front of my face, I do apologize. It's entirely unconscious stimming on my part. I just want to throw that out there. The other big thing from the Monday meeting notes is that the Onyx Path Publishing Convention Fiction Contest is complete. There were, I think it was 10 authors over 8 game lines submitted short stories for the competition. The prizes being gift credit for drive-through and storytelling collective subscriptions. The votes are in, and the winners are, in first place, The One Who Shines for Exalted, written for set in the Exalted game. There we go, by Esteban Fernandez Quieros. I don't know how to pronounce that, I apologize. First runner-up was Hollow Men, Changeling the Dreaming by C. Truman Atkin. And second runner-up was From the Shadow of Doubt, also an Exalted by C.A. Wallace. Obviously, there is still a huge White Wolf fan contingent within the Onyx Path community. If you are on the Onyx Path Discord server, you know what? I'm just going to put it in the chat. I'll put it in the YouTube video description as well. Although, friendly reminder about YouTube video descriptions, this will be going up a week after it's aired. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want my short story, you should probably get it sooner rather than later. I'll check this link still works, but there's no reason it shouldn't. Yep. So if you're watching this before the 14th of August, check the YouTube video description. There will be a discount code to get my entry for free. However, it is a short story called Silence, set in the realms of Pugmire, so it is available from, Canis Minor. There we are. That's the word. Those are the words I was looking for. However, I do recommend you go through and check all of the other entries out. They were, by all accounts, pretty dang good. But congratulations to the winners for the well-deserved victory. Sucks I didn't win, but I had fun writing a short story. It was nice to write creatively rather than for a role-playing project for once. As ever, as always, the Onyx Path, the Monday meeting notes also has, the project updates and things of that nature. But that is for you to go and find yourself. So clearly it's been a while. Again, 5th of November last year. So that's what, 8 months nearly? Over 8 months? Nearly 9 months. I could have had a child. I didn't, but I could have done. So I've mentioned a couple of times before on the show that I don't generally use project outlines, things of that nature. What's the phrase? I write by the seat of my pants. I'm a pantser, I think is the online lexicon. But as it has been 9 months, I'm super glad that I did in fact write an outline for this project. PC's Fall Not Spans Me a Metal Dinosaur. I remembered that much. I remembered the elevator pitch. And the explanation of what the elevator pitch actually means. I kind of remember the vague overview, I just don't remember where I got to in it. I know I'm still on scene 1, I've done the soiree, I believe. Yes, I'm on the hunt. However, before I read what I've already read, skimming wise, I feel like just in case this is your first time here, I don't want to make any assumptions about what people do and do not know. So, to recap the series so far, this is an adventure for Trinity Continuum Adventure, a pulp action TTRPG that uses the StoryPath system. It's available on Drive-Thru RPG, probably also Indie Press Revolution or Studio 2, one of the two. They're usually the traditional distribution partners, that Onyx Path uses. So it's entirely likely it'll be at Gen Con if you're going to Gen Con. However, as I say, it is a pulp action RPG set in the 1930s, as all good pulp fiction is, that uses the D10 pool-based StoryPath system. Not StoryPath Ultra, but StoryPath system. You can watch Nazis, but it also has a lot of the Lost World narrative threads that were popular in Pulp Fiction at the time, so dinosaurs and Atlantis, Hyboria, things of that nature. Antediluvian civilizations, if you will. I just wanted to use that word. Civilizations, not antediluvian. Antediluvian is a pretentious word. But the gist of it is, on your character sheet you have a matrix of 9 attributes and a whole bunch of skills. Can't remember how many off the top of my head. Each dice roll is paired between a skill and an attribute. That tells you how many dice you roll, and 8, 9, 10 is a success. There's a bunch of other things to get into, but I don't know how much mechanics I need to talk about today. And then you spend the successors on succeeding in actions. Very simple, very flexible. A boon for those of us like myself who like to tinker with role-playing game systems and make toolboxes and things of that nature. So far in the series, I've also described planning and outlining and the importance of it if it works for you. As I've said before, in this very stream, it doesn't usually work for me. However, this circumstance of a prolonged hiatus, and I do not know when I'm coming off of hiatus, does mean that I obviously have those resources already developed and available for me to consult. I've just closed my notes because I'm a fool. I've also discussed how to deal with scope creep. Obviously, if you have an outline, that really helps with that because you can discretely assign discrete word counts to sections. So, scene 1, for example, I think all of these scenes are scripted to be 1,500 words. Just because it's a nice amount, it's a nice number of words. Yes, they're all 1,500 words. It's a nice number of words. It's achievable in a day of writing. For most people, you probably shouldn't try for more than 1,500 words a day. Otherwise, you'll end up in burnout like I did. There is a correlation. So that obviously helps you deal with scope creep, limiting your word count. Outline obviously tells you what you're doing in advance, so that again helps with scope creep. If something does start to creep outside of the scope, this is community content. There's nothing saying you can't include it, but take a look at it, analyze it, figure out if it is actually contributing to the project in any meaningful way, or if you simply, if it's just a cool idea that's crept in. If it's a cool idea that's crept in, you could always save it for a later supplement. I know that there's some things when I was originally thinking about the Horrors of the Continuum, available now from StoryPath Nexus, that I did on this show a while ago. There were horror genres that I wanted to include, but I couldn't think of how to do them justice, so I didn't. But that's ideas that I could put towards a second volume of Horrors of the Continuum, for example. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Please do not take that as an announcement or confirmation of it. But it's just an example. And then also dealt with how you take an outline, a scene outline, where it might just be a few sentences of narrative information and then a one-sentence summary. A few sentences of narrative introduction to the scene and then a one-sentence summary of the scene. The importance of that being obviously that if you have that really short summary, narrative focus summary, that gives the GM, SG, story guide, the key information that they need to run the scene, to run the game, to make sure that not everything stays on track, because I firmly believe that players should have the freedom to do whatever they want within an adventure's scope. But it gives them a good way of being so this scene is about this. The next scene is about this. How do I link this to what the players are already doing? Scene summary is just a useful tool if you are planning on writing adventures. Obviously, if you're writing adventures for a client, if you do freelance writing and the client doesn't want the scene summaries, don't. But hey, that's the joy of community content and homebrew, right? You can write your own. You can write in whatever style you wish. While I have gone on at length, and no doubt those of you who have been watching the show for a long time are bored of hearing me talk about it, but you should always obviously try to match the official style of the game that you're writing a supplement for, because that's just an easy way to make it look more professional. It also tells any potential employees that you can write to a style guide, that you are willing to go the extra mile to make something look as close to official and as compatible with official material as possible. I think that kind of covers everything we've done so far. So the actual writing side of things, That's the project outline. I don't need that. I've done a scene overview without a title because I am apparently a fool. For now, it will be scene 1. Oh, right. No title because that interface will count. That was what it was. Scenes primarily in. So overview gives you a like. Here's how things go for in the scene. So I'll just zoom in for people who may be watching on mobile devices. And then a bit of context for the scene, primarily an intrigue scene as it's party populated by the with the core information relating to the scene type. And then a scene-wide complication. That's fine. That applies to all roles and has a built-in countdown. I'm really, really happy if the reduced momentum pool by 1. If it's ever empty, a bad thing happens. Okay, and then the soiree. So I believe I've finished the soiree and we're now into the hunt. Please give me 1 second as I rapidly skim through the 750 words I've already written for this adventure. Okay, so the hunt takes place in the ballroom. That's fine. I believe the hunt is them having to find the Nazi, sorry. Okay, so they know that there's a Nazi there, based on the read aloud text at the start of the scene. I'm sure that when I started this, it being in media res was, you know, a great idea, but it's making it hell for me to play catch up with. But we'll get there. Okay, so the hunt. How would we represent this? We know it's in the ballroom. We know it's a party of the idle rich. So we need intro to the ballroom. I want this to be a very much fish out of water vibe. It's something that is almost jarring compared to the rest of the adventure, because the next scene will be set in a jungle, and then the final scene will be a Nazi base. So this is very much a counterpoint to, I guess, harsh survivalism. Trying to avoid repetition there with small and tiny. Obviously, I'm almost certain I've said this before, but you have to write it and then make it better. You're almost certainly not going to make it perfect the first time. You just need to get it down, and then you go back through and editing and make it better. You polish it. This section of the scene, I think it was 550 words. Cool. So that would be 1,300 words, I think. Although I realised that I'm missing a couple of words from this section because I didn't account for the subtitle. All that. So that should be the... Cool. I need to tidy that up in editing. But that's an editing problem. Unless there are the characters should feel out of place. Fortunately, with the new boom arm, you can't hear me typing anymore, which is a boon to everyone. Oops, that's not how you spell that word at all. That's still not how you spell that word. I might like this. Only in English you're allowed to make up spellings. That's true on Stable Desk. That is very true. Thank you for the for the vote of support. Hi Ari, how you doing? The ball ROM. Hey, I've got a new retro console for everyone. It's circular. Spherical, sorry. How are we doing in chat today? Are the tomatoes here in the room with us? No, Ari. No, they are not. Of all the things I do on this stream, because it's a less of a co-working stream, more of a workshop. I'm not going to run the Pomodoro stuff. The tomatoes are not here to enforce their tyrannical law upon you. For the YouTube audience, who the one of you watching, I've started doing co-working streams on my channel, and I have the Pomodoro timer running for people who need it. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, I believe. So the tomatoes make people work, essentially. That's what Ari's getting at, and that's why there's a tomato emote in chat. Twitch.tv/ComradeBubbles. Right, I realise that I don't have the rulebook open. Do I even have the rulebook on this computer? Because I think I do. I'm pretty sure I had this computer when I streamed last. Yeah, there's the adventure rulebook. Probably have the core rulebook open as well. Intrigue. Attitude. Atmosphere. Bonds. Influencer. Yeah, cool. That's what I was figuring. Is this a new adventure? I mean, in that it's not out yet, but it's the same adventure I was writing 9 months ago. It's about the Robo T-Rex and Nazis. Ah, here's my eye. Character enters in the bar area. Not that it particularly matters right now, but now that I've defined those 4 areas, I'm thinking there's probably going to be some mechanical thing tying into that to warrant that distinction. Four main areas, by the way, because when writing content for freelance contracts, I'm often advised to assume a player group of 4. So if you're ever like, hey, how many areas should I have in this scene or geographical location? If you have 4, that means that if the party does split up, that everyone gets equal spotlight time, because no one's sharing it. It also means that in this instance, if everyone does split up, sure, they're spread out through the room, but it also means that if they go to pairs, if it's a 5-player group and there are 2 pairs and 1 left by themselves, there's still an area that no one's in. It gives you a manageable degree of freedom to plot, essentially, to hide things in the scene, where, like in an area where you want to draw attention to without the player seeing everything immediately. Obviously, if they do split up, then you have to get a bit creative, but hey, that's on the story guide to do, not to explain away, not me as the writer of the adventure. Because as the adventure writer, you literally cannot plan for every eventuality. You just have to provide enough information for the story guide to work with what they are given in response to player actions. Where is the... No, this isn't an action-adventure scene. We don't need those rules. This is an introductory thing. This is like how you play the game. Again, scope creep. Trying to introduce mechanics that aren't needed in this scene. These are enclosed tables with shadowed recesses. There's a +2 difficulty to the same. The dance floor is busy enough that characters cannot see across it. Can't see across it if you prefer to punch things up, punch your language up a smidge. Characters can't see across it. Nor can they hear anything beyond arm's reach. Could be important to note, could not be important to note. It's all there for flavor. What did I call this? Did I call this a section? Yes. Following allowed. Control I is my friend. Well, actually, that's control me. Because it's not the action of the sentence. The action. Nope, it's gone. I was making a grammar joke, but I think I fudged up the grammar joke real bad because that was the object of the sentence. Therefore, control I is the actual right one. Whoops. General question. Someone who has written for multiple systems game license, does the expected party size you write for vary from game system to game system? I have never received official word that it does. I generally just assume 4 players, and because most of the... Sorry, I'm looking to all the rulebooks I've got to spur any memories. I don't think I've read a rulebook that has explicitly stated that party sizes should not be between 3 to 5 players. Obviously, if you've got a solo or a duet game, that's completely different. But the vast majority of TTRPGs, I believe, assume 3 to 5 players. At which point, as a writer, you just assume 4, because you can't provide 3 different sets of guidance depending on 3 players, 4 players, or 5 players. But obviously, with 4 players, it's the median value, and the GM can scale up or down as required. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of any where it doesn't expect... where the expected party size isn't varied. Although, now I'm kind of trying to think how you would handle that, and it just gets incredibly maths heavy. There was... oh god, was it Daggerheart? Now my brain is wrinkling. You've asked the question, and now I want to find the answer to it. I know I read one recently that didn't really state expected party size. There is a... yeah, see... so D&D handles it with like a challenge rating, whatever creature is appropriate for a level whatever character, and Ronza Pugmire does that as well. I don't know how Pathfinder handles it. I know Pathfinder has a very highly regarded encounter building system. But Pathfinder's one I keep meaning to look into, but haven't yet done so. Okay, Pathfinder does a similar thing to Daggerheart, where it's just a budget, but the Pathfinder budget does assume 4 characters, but it also gives you guidance for different party sizes. Whereas Daggerheart just explicitly says 3 times you get points to spend on adversaries equal to 3 times the number of PCs in combat plus 2, which. Yeah, I'm not surprised with, considering it's from the people, it's from Critical Role. So they have, what, like 6 people at the table? 6 to 8 people? It has an XP budget system, but their models so fixed on each class has been filled. That's fair. Hopefully Mike is fine. Thank you for letting me know. I have little experience with Pathfinder. It's a blind spot that I intend to fill at some point, because there are some cool action economy things I'm aware of. But, yeah. The TLDR, apart from Daggerheart and games where combat is not the focus, thinking mostly of Powered by the Apocalypse and its successor, its inheritor systems, most games just seem to assume 4 character parties with, if you're lucky, some guidance for scaling that either way. I know in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which admittedly was for 2014 D&D rules, that only really gave guidance for player sizes of 4, 5, or what was it, like 3, 4, 5, 6 players? Something like that. Now I'm going down the rabbit hole. This is what happens when I'm tired. I go down rabbit holes. And obviously, to loop it back around to what we're actually supposed to be talking about, combat isn't the main focus of StoryPath games. I mean, sure, it's there. The action adventure rules are robust enough. Okay, so Xanathar's does 4 to 6 players. Characters, sorry. There we go. I knew 3 to 6 was wrong. So, yeah, Xanathar's includes guidance for 4, 5, or 6 character parties for encounter building. Savage Worlds are something similar. A number of extras is tied to the number of PCs. 3 to 4 seems to be a good sweet spot for keeping your sanity running TTRPGs, but yeah, it's pretty arbitrary. Yeah, Mike, you make a good point there about the more PCs, obviously, the more in depth any scene becomes, and the harder it is to administrate. I think I've mentioned this before on stream, but I've run a 12-player game before, solo, like just me and 12 players. That was awful. The only way to handle it was basically the entire session was in a pseudo-initiative order. It was... I don't recommend it solo. If you have a co-GM, sure, but I'm pretty sure at that point you have 12 two separate groups. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be 12. It was an intro to D&D game for kids, and I said that I was happy for the family for like parents to join if they wanted to, thinking, oh, you know, it'll be like at most 2 parents. No, it was a girl and her dad, a boy who'd been to several before, with his grandparents, so that's 3, his cousins, which is 5, his cousin's parents, which is 7, and then it was 2 other kids who also only brought 1 parent. It was a mess. Like, it was fun. Everyone had a great time. I just felt it for about 3 days afterwards, and as I said, the entire session was in pseudo-initiative order, so I would not recommend it. Really, the parents wanted to play D&D and the kids were just an excuse? Clearly, Ari, clearly that is what it was. Everyone was surprised. It's really weird, because I told the venue that I was happy for the parents to take part. It was on all of the promotional material for it, but every parent was surprised when we told them that they could play if they wanted to. However, I did not get paid for the parents. I only got paid for the kids. So that was also a terrible financial decision I made at my friendly local board game cafe. Also, side note, obviously you may have your own opinions and feelings on paid GMing. That's fine. You are allowed to think what you wish. There's no money in it in board game cafes, in like partnering up with a board game cafe to do it. It was basically the ticket cost was my fees, and then the board game cafe ran at almost not a loss, because obviously they're buying food and drink, but even with me encouraging people to buy food and drink, they just really weren't buying food and drink. So I no longer run games for that cafe because, I mean, one, they changed hands like 6 months ago and never got back to me when I offered to start up the sessions again, even though they were always popular. But yeah, it's one of those where if you're already working for them, it's probably financially viable because you're already on the books, you're getting paid. But because of my muscle spasms, I cannot work in hospitality because no one wants me to drop hot food on their lap or cross myself. So I was regrettably let go. Obviously, COVID didn't help with that either. I ended up running like 2 sessions after COVID, and then it was just, this isn't working for either of us anymore. It wasn't really working for the cafe to begin with, so I don't think there was much of a difficult decision for them to make. Starting on 1 session, 12 players, and even with 2 gyms, it was a 4-hour combat session. Yeah. At that point, at what point do you just start playing a miniatures wargame? Asking for a friend. That's actually something I could write for like the DM's Guild. Be like, hey, if you want to run large player sessions, here is an alternative system to make it faster. Anyway, back to writing for StoryPath. As I was saying, as combat is not the focus for the StoryPath games, particularly right now, let's say. It doesn't need to be that granular, but the action adventure scenes do exist. Action adventure rules do exist. They are, you know, they're fun. I like them. I like the way it handles things. Quite streamlined. Big fan of streamlined combat systems. Crowd on the other side of the ballroom. No, how... Right. There's a Nazi hidden in the crowd. How do we get that across. I mean, we could just channel what we all want to do around Nazis. Someone throws a drunken punch. By a man in a navy blue suit. Her hand is tightly groups. No, in front of his blazer. Pulling buttons from it as she falls, which is just a nice bit of foreshadowing to what's going to happen at the end of the scene. His nose is streaming blood. He glances around. His eyes wide. And you recognize him. As the Nazi you've been chasing. Sees you and ducks out of the servants. Exit nearby. Okay, so how can we, realistically speaking, how do we handle this? This is not an action adventure scene. It's not procedural. This is an intrigue scene. So it's the stakes here are quite low. It's always going to end the same way. I need a system to reflect a chase, I suppose, throughout the ship as they are looking for the Nazi. And as I'm saying that, I'm remembering the incredibly quick and dirty rules I wrote for chases in StoryPath Ultra. How can I put those into this? Those of you who are curious, those are not available on StoryPath Nexus. They're, I think, in the... Bear with me 1 second. I think they came from General. I wrote them for as a throwaway joke. Someone was talking about Dragon Cart in the Yakuza in the Like a Dragon games, in relation to using they came from the RPG anthology to put together a Yakuza, or Like a Dragon if you prefer, TTRPG. I think they're on there. They're also up on my Blue Sky, I believe. Took a screen cap. So... I see you and ducks out of a servant's exit nearby. The character wishing to can give chase. Similarly, a character can look elsewhere in Zeppelin. Because it's a necessarily limited area, right? It's a Zeppelin. There's only so many places he can be. Any character which you give chase, similarly a character can knock elsewhere in the Zeppelin. That's who you've been chasing. But he must have stashed his briefcase somewhere, as he no longer carries it. Again, starting anything in media res, I think that's the phrase, is a gamble at the best of times, because you need enough of a strong enough opening hook to get the players interested, but you also need to provide all the information that they need to make informed decisions. Obviously, depending on your GMing story guiding style, that might be different. I firmly believe in allowing my players to make informed decisions. The players, I can't stress this enough, the players. The characters obviously may not have all of the information they need. That is completely fine. But as a story guide, GM, whatever, I see it as my job to make sure that the players have all of the information that their character would have. So I don't mind it if a player asks me for clarification about anything. I will frankly, I encourage them to ask me clarification on things. If they think that their character would pay attention to a certain aspect of the environment that I have glossed over or not even particularly mentioned, I will happily, clarify, build on, elaborate, what have you, so that they have that information that they require. And then the obvious extrapolation of this when it's in media res is, while the players don't know why the characters are there, the characters obviously do. So, unlike a lot of games where you have, you meet in a tavern, or there is a similar hook, incident, call it what you will, that draws the characters together, in this instance, the characters are already together, right? So you need to tell them why they're together. Otherwise, it's just, narratively speaking, it's a mess. Because the players don't know what's happening. The characters, while obviously in fiction they know why they're there, if you're not providing that information, the characters may as well not know what's happening either. So in this particular example, you would have, hypothetically, 4 people who have just crashed a party on a Zeppelin for no reason, chasing a guy that they know is a Nazi, but why are they chasing him? Why is he running from them? You see what I mean? Also, if the players know the information, and this is why I will give my players meta information. I don't mind it if they occasionally metagame. Contentious, I know. Because if a player knows information that their character wouldn't, then it is up to them if their character wants to seek that information out, if it's alluded to. So, good example of this being in the Wild Hunters Exalted Essence game I'm in on Fridays, on alternate Fridays, run by the incredible Travis Legg. You should absolutely, if you're on StartPlaying.games, he has some games running. He's a great GM. Like, my character... So I, as a player, knew that there was a sidereal helping the other 2 player characters out. Obviously, my character didn't. But I told everyone that I was happy for my character to be kept in the dark about that, because I thought that was more interesting from a narrative perspective, that Maris didn't know about that. And then when things conspired where the other 2 characters felt it was better if my character did know that a sidereal was helping to manipulate fate, I was like, yeah, cool, thank you for telling me, it's good to know, but I'm just going to ignore that knowledge, because there are bigger problems for me to be focused on. So now I can use that knowledge if I want. It's not metagaming. I'm not breaking any of the unspoken social contracts that we engage in when we play tabletop role-playing games. But I can still make the flawed decision-making of, you know, like this problem is too big. I don't understand how this person does what they do. And although they probably could help, I'm not going to ask them for help because, quite frankly, it terrifies me what they can do. Whereas, you know, if Maris was in the dark, it would be, this person cannot help, why would we intervene? Why would we, you know, ask them for it? Obviously, that's just how Maris is feeling about the situation. Equally, he could have been like, cool, we have an incredibly powerful ally, let's leverage that to our, you know, as best we can. But personally speaking, obviously this is just subjective role-playing stuff, I prefer characters to make flawed decision making. It takes all of the weight off of me as player or as GM to have that perfect decision, because it's just what makes sense for the character. And obviously, a lot of people abuse that phrase, that rationale. But you can apply it to NPCs as well, or SGCs, sorry, in StoryPath context. Just in real life, how many people do you know make perfect decisions? Versus how many people do you know make tragic decisions because they could realistically make no other decision based on what you know of them and of their interests and their personality and their life experiences. Anyway, because I'm a manipulator of fate is a good thing. I honestly, you know, nothing ever goes wrong from involving a sidereal in your plans. Nothing at all. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. So this scene taking place on a Zeppelin. Players should be reminded that there are only so many places you can run to or hide anything in. Let's go with subheading the chase. Characters chasing the Nazi would roll any suitable combination of dice. With a difficulty equal to the momentum pool. Success brings them one step closer to their target as he flees into the maybe staff quarters. Difficulty equal to the momentum pool, and a level 1 complication, right? The problem with anything regarding StoryPath is that both StoryPath and StoryPath Ultra coexist at the same time, and they use different terminology for the same things. Oh, level. Level 1 complication that, if not bought off, spend. Ooh. 1 momentum from the pool. A difficulty equal to 1 plus the momentum pool. Success brings him 1 step closer to the target as he flees into the staff quarters. These are small Spartan rooms with bare walls and connected by cramped corridors. This stage of the chase has a level 2 complication. Nope. Difficulty for this stage of... one thing to be helpful for in media res openers is getting player buy-in by asking them, why are you in such a situation here? Take the onus off the GM to justify things and lets them inform the context. Fantastic advice, Mike. You are very, very correct in that. And in most circumstances, I would have included guidance to that degree. Guidance... Sorry, 1 second. Thank you for the wait. Explaining that. However, the second scene of this adventure will be the opening scene of the adventure chronologically, if that makes sense. I wanted to do something fancy with scene order and narrative. But equally, there will be in the introduction, there will be hey, you can run scene 2 first if you want to keep the narrative chronologically consistent. I've just always personally found that Immediate Res is a great way to learn how a system works without necessarily having any stakes to it, because you know it's the start of the session, you're probably not going to have a TPK, or you're probably not going to fail at the end of the scene. And if and any character who fails, very apropos for Action 4 games. Also that, yeah, I mean, every time I teach someone how to whenever I run a, let's just restart the sentence. Whenever I run a like a superhero game, I will always start in combat, because that obviously is the easiest way to help a player feel like their character is a superhero, is to give them just a demonstration of what that character can do. Need to check the wording on something. Yep, thought it was. So, big fan of the crashing or hijacked train. Monorail is usually, because it just makes it more dramatic. If it's, you know, a speeding monorail above a crowded city street, there's a gap in the track, there's aliens, robots, whatever on the train. You know, it gives instant stakes and instant gratification of power fantasy. Your favorite opener for a spy adventure, your arms dropping the PCs into a skydive. Opening with a Halo, or hey-ho, is phenomenal. I might have to steal that. Obviously, the stakes there are a bit high, because if you mess up, you know, some GMs, if you mess up, you might die. I ran a spy adventure. I ran a They Came From Classified game for Onyx Path Con last year. And the cold open for that was the characters were already in the death trap. And they had to escape from the death trap to stop the scheme. I'm still quite proud of that adventure. Difficulty of this stage of the chase is 2, and any character who fails is dealt. Look at their attention. It did. It did. the lowest available injury condition, as they are restrained by the gods. Or attracted by the chase. You know, I'm not going that deep into the game. This is an intro game. Halo jump leaves 30 to 50% of the jumpers incapacitated when they hit the ground, so we assume the characters aren't. I mean, fair. Very fair. Dealt the lowest available injury condition and are unable to take part in the chase, to take further part in the chase. Right, the noise. Success. Them into, what did I call it up here? The engineering section. As the Nazi readies a plunger. They have enough time to see a reinforced briefcase nearby. The reinforced briefcase tucked into some pipe work nearby. Before he detonates a bomb. Characters who enter the engineering section earlier in the scene. Before the boiler room. Let's say before the hunt starts. Before the section starts. There we go, that's the word. Before the section starts, or by ignoring the chase. Can find the briefcase with a difficulty 3. Oops. Would be cunning, I guess. Last name plus cunning. If there is a level 2 complication on the roll, that, if not bought off, means they don't see the explosive nearby. Now, obviously, a complication is usually something negative in the scene, right? It's a negative consequence of you've succeeded, probably, but you haven't succeeded quite enough. And that is more intuitive than doing it this way, where it's you've succeeded, sure, but you have to succeed better to see more information. And obviously, this could be a separate roll. You could have like, hey, a difficulty 3 roll for the briefcase and a difficulty 2 roll for the explosive. But I've tied them together because the briefcase is the focus here. The scene's always going to end in it. This section is always going to end in the explosion because that's part of the fun of the media res, where something happens that, you know, the characters have been led to this point for a reason, and then the scene progresses from there. They're chasing a Nazi, brings them into the scene. They're on a Zeppelin. Kind of where do they go from there? Do they just wait around on the Zeppelin till it docks again? Lands? Does Zeppelins dock or land? Does anyone know? I certainly don't. Or there could be a small amount of railroading, because this is a pulp action adventure where there's a Zeppelin. It's in a pulp game. It's never not going to blow up. And then we could take it, like, the scene continues with the explosion. And I promise this was the plan before Mike pointed out about the skydive. They're going to fall from the sky and have to deal with that. The outline calls for 200 words on the player characters surviving a crashing blimp. Level 2 complication roll. If not bought off means they don't see the explicit. So, the TLDR basically, the briefcase is the focus. If they happen to roll high enough to pay off the complication, sure, the characters see an explosive. I should probably have something here about how it's too complicated to deal with. And this goes back to making informed decisions. There's something to be said for, oh no, there was an explosive all along. But that does feel a little too railroady. Whereas if you say, hey, there's a bomb there, the players can make their preparations. Why Zeppelin? Because crash. Exactly, you get it. If they know there's a bomb, they can prepare for it. Whatever they choose to do, however they choose to prepare for it, I can't make that judgment call. But they could choose to try and evacuate people, not evacuate off the Zeppelin because it's in midair by this point, but I also should probably make that explicit further up in the adventure. But they can go looking for parachutes. They can go looking for life rafts, fire extinguishers, things of that nature. Useful equipment that could help them in a crashing scenario. The explosive is... The question remains is how fiery? You both understand. I'm running out of word count for this section. If not bought off means they don't see the... Impossible to defuse explosive. There we go. Also, that only counts as one word because of the hyphens. That's how word counts work. Must be getting up there. Yeah, 9 words left. There's no time to see a reinforced briefcase tucked into a pipework nearby if it hasn't already been taken. Insert my sweet, sweet M dash. Also, goes without saying, all of this I'm writing, in case you couldn't tell. I've written all of this by hand. For those who are new here, this is all, human-made. No LLM has been involved in this project, and it certainly will not be. Means I don't see the impossible to defuse explosive nearby. If all the characters fail... succeed off. Nope. Bomb goes off when the last character when the characters reach this point, or all the characters fail the chase rolls. Failure results in them being detained in the ball. Detained by security. Hell's Angels. 1930. It's the movie Howard Hughes making The Aviator. Incredible flight scenes and model work. I will check that out. Thank you. Unfortunately, you don't have permission to share links here. Okay, I'm 22 words over. Sorry, 27 words over. Summary, a Zeppelin explodes? Hell yeah, that's all we need to know. Obviously, I want to point this out. The Hindenburg disaster, a horrendous thing that I wish never happens again. I don't want people to think that I derive, you know, pleasure from things like that happening in real life. But in cinema, as a spectacle, yes. I don't think any of this is needed. These four main areas are not... Nothing happens in them. So this entire thing is not needed, apart from for scene setting information, which means I could just put it up here, up in the read loud text. Lavishly decorated space of marble, gilt and soft lighting, small knots of people chatting around tables, loosely holding glasses from the nearby bar. The Rogers dancers have commandeered the dance floor while the band plays on the tiny stage, tucked away behind a series of booths. Hey Josie, how we doing? As for the questions, over here, party goers. Discussing the anxious-looking man by the stage. Crowd by the stage. Okay, this is so unrelated, but my daughter's daycare, someone walk around in a T-Rex costume. His daughter freaking loves it. Hey, Ari, one, it's not unrelated because this entire adventure is about robotic T-Rexes. Two, that's pretty cool. Exhausted but okay. What about you, Josie? A big same, big same. I think I'm taking the rest of the week off of streaming and writing, as it turns out, because I've finished my drafts just to try and recover. I've taken on a lot of work recently in a short period of time, and I'm feeling it, and I'd rather not burn myself out again. Okay. Wait, did I... Project outline... 550 words! Oh yeah, I got like 2 paragraphs. That'll do it. If they... look for the anxious... a man they see him in conversation. Only person who matches that description as their back to the characters and is in conversation with a blonde-haired woman. Okay. I should probably have made a note of the word count at the bottom. That would have been useful. So that would be 1281. 1301, I think. But that does mean that as I have the extra word count now, I can flesh out the actual chase bit. I also don't need the subtitle now, because the focus of the scene is just the chase. Okay, where do I need? This brings them one step closer to their targets within staff quarters. Failure results in them being detained by security and being removed from the chase. Small spawning rooms with bell walls and connect background corridors. Difficulty for this stage of the chase is 2. Because of the tight confines. Any character fails is dealt the lowest available injury condition and is unable to take further part in the chase as they are restrained by the guards who are attracted by the noise. Earlier in the scene, before this section starts, or by ignoring the chase, confine the briefcase with difficulty 3. We picked with a difficulty 3 larceny plus. Oh god, is it finesse and Trinity Continuum? It's dexterity. Right, finesse is the for NPCs. Never mind. Roll, but the papers within are ciphered. Did I just hit 550 exactly? Hell yeah, I did. Right, so that was 550. That's 557. Let's just tidy this up. And then... sorry, going back to this. They can open the briefcase. They can... Having something in there that is ciphered, obviously, like, this is an important thing. This is good. This is big for... This is the MacGuffin, right? It's the... You've put time and effort into going out of your way to find something. You found it, and it is clearly important, but that payoff will be later in the adventure. This is always when writing adventures, you have the problem of railroading. How much do you include? How do you deal with that? Obviously, because I'm doing this to such a small word limit, and honestly, 1,500 words to do a scene is laughably small. You should never be doing it with this small amount of word, with this lower word count. So there's necessarily going to be some railroading, but providing this option of like, hey, if they don't chase, if they do explore first, what have you, they can find the stuff that they need. That is clearly important, and they can take it with them, so that when at the end of the adventure, and I'll try to remember to include this when I come back off hiatus, when I come back off hiatus permanently, there'll be a payoff in the last scene for having the briefcase with the paperwork in. Perhaps they'll find a cipher and they can use it to quickly get a greater understanding of how the Robo T-Rex works, and therefore, use it against the Nazis. Or it's got a payoff of like, hey, this is a story seed, go crazy with it as a story guide. This is my gift to you. Is finding the spy an option? Not in the word count that I've got, unfortunately. Originally, it was going to be that they have to find the spy, but then I was like, the word count I've got, how do they find the spy, and then how does he detonate the Zeppelin? Like, how does he blow a hole inside of the Zeppelin and send it plummeting to Earth? That's the staff. Four words too many. I used automobile here purely because it sounds more period appropriate. Personally, if I were running this as a... If I were to approach this as a not introductory adventure to Trinity Continuum adventure, I would absolutely have a way for them to find the spy. I would probably have it as a procedural scene, so talk about clues and how the StoryPath system handles clues and all of that. But as this is a... I've spoken before on the show about how I approach writing introductory adventures, or really just adventures of any kind, because it's useful to have that kind of no, mostly just introductory adventures. Thinking about it, is that you have a low stakes scene where there's no real chance of failure. You're always going to, beat off the attack, fend off the attack, survive the crashing Zeppelin. I don't know, that'd be weird. And to me, having the finding a spy be the first scene of an introductory adventure, it's cool, don't get me wrong, it is fantastic. But from the point of view of someone who is using this as a tool, I feel like the concepts that's engaging with from a mechanical standpoint are not perhaps as easy to grasp as this is how the social roles work. This is how dice rolls in general work. Anyway, I have 6 words up here. Climax of the scene. Air bomb explodes. And the Zeppelin crashes. Right. 8 words. Primarily an intrigue scene. Scene begins as an intrigue scene. A Nazi spy may become aware of the characters they investigate to represent the total action of the first 2 sections of the scene, have a level 1 complication. That'll be all actions in the first section of the scene. The soiree. If not bought off, reduces the amount of blow. If the blow empty, the spy brings the Zeppelin down, and in the current action, skipping to the crash. By detonating a bomb prematurely, and in the current action, skipping to the crash. Once per scene, a player may spend 1 leftover success from any roll to add 1 momentum to the pool. Snarch the agent and potentially find the intelligence they have hidden aboard. There we go. That's the word count matched up. So whenever the next episode of this show show is, will be 200 words on how to survive a crashing Zeppelin, and then straight into the in the procedural scene, talking about, for some reason, I don't know why I did this to myself, hex crawls in StoryPath. I know how I want to do it, however. I'm pretty happy with what I've settled on, but obviously I need to get to it. But those of you who are not familiar with the show, by the way, I didn't do this at the start of the because I just wanted to get right into it. So I'm Ryan, Comrade Bubbles on Blue Sky and in chat. I am a freelance writer for Onyx Path Publishing. I have contributed to Trinity Continuum. Most recently, I was a contributing writer for the Steam Wars and Steam Wars Leviathan books. So I know a little bit of what I'm talking about when it comes to these kind of things. I've also done a bunch of Pokemon material. I'm forgetting stuff, but it's one of those days. The TLDR is I do get paid to write books for Onyx Path Publishing and other companies, so I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I have done adventure writing professionally before, and this show is just essentially a writing workshop to be like, hey, if you want to write community content but you don't know where to get started, this is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. I'm not saying it is the way you must do it, but that initial, oh god, where do I start, barrier can be quite large for some people. Or, you know, you could have your own ideas but be struggling how to deal with them. And it's always my hope that this show either helps remove that barrier or helps to provide an alternative viewpoint for you to think about things. As it says to the side of my face during the show, always ask anything you want. I'm happy to provide feedback. The writing is literally just there for something to do when there's no questions in chat for me to answer. And also, you know, at the end of it, I have an adventure I can sell, but it's there mostly just to fill the dead air while chat is thinking of questions. Should you write campaign arcs for our Armor Game too? Exactly. Like, it doesn't have to be for Onyx Path Games. Obviously, that's what the focus of the show is because it's their channel. Huge thanks to, again, the Onyx Path Publishing for allowing me to stream this show on their channel and reach an audience greater than I could reach on my own. You know, it is just the advice I'm giving, hopefully, is generic enough that it applies to any games. And specifically for today, for this season of the show, because this is an introductory scenario, adventure, call it whatever you will. It is following the rough outline that I've talked about many times of you open with a low-stakes scene to allow people to get to grips with the system. Then you have an investigation scene, because if a system includes investigation rules, it probably handles it differently to every other system out there. And it also provides a good segue into social and deductive role-playing. And then you end with the combat scene, because most games have a combat system that you will encounter at some point, and also because you just go out on a high. And if you, firm believer, if you're ending a one-shot on a high, you are more likely to have positive memories of that game and return to it. Hence why starting with intrigue, and then procedural, and then ending with an action-adventure scene. I do not know when the next episode of this show will be. Again, I am still working on contract work and trying to get my own indie games written and laid out and stuff of that nature, so that I can address the financial hardship that I'm currently under. Thanks, Ryan. I'm definitely thinking about some community content. Trinity Continuum is helpful. Hope you get some rest of recovery. Thank you, Mike. If you are not on it, Nightbot has dropped the link for the Onyx Path Discord server. There are several of us freelancers who do regular community content releases, and we're always more than happy to help provide advice or feedback. I do stream. I stream twitch.tv/comradebubbles and moonbeam.stream/user/comradebubbles. And I'm always happy to talk role-playing and writing and stuff of that nature when I'm streaming. I'm taking the rest of the week off because of the need to recover, but I should be back next week. And the bonus is that I always do co-working streams before going into video game stuff. So I do like 2 hours-ish of co-working. So that is dedicated time to chat role-playing stuff and answer questions you may have outside of this show. If you want more context and assistance with your community content, this is Season 9. Every other season is up on my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this because of the YouTube algorithm, thank you. The rest of the show is up on my YouTube channel. That's just youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles. I started with Scion. I've done Trinity Continuum, Chronicles of Darkness, Pugmire, Scarred Lands. Yeah, Scarred Lands. I think I've done most Onyx Path game lines right now. At least the core rules. I haven't touched The World Below or Curseborn or anything like that because they're not available for community content. So it seems like a wasted effort. I have also gone into... I've done some specials on like how to do layout in Microsoft Word if you can't afford Affinity Publisher. If you can afford Affinity Publisher, I recommend that over Word, but what do I know? And like how to prepare for con games and how Onyx Path Con is put together from a GM perspective. All of which is to say, I spend too much time doing role-playing games work and not enough time playing them. But hey, if you want to buy anything I've made, it's all available on my website, which is my portfolio, sorry, which links you to the relevant community content page on DriveThruRPG, whether Canis Minor, StoryPath Nexus, Storyteller's Vault, or the Sluretian Vault. That's all available from my portfolio, which is on my Linktree. Ordinarily, these things are once every 2 weeks, still on hiatus, however. If you want to catch the beginning of the show, but you missed it, if you have a Twitch, I see that follow on my OBS dashboard. Thank you so much. I should be, as I say, co-working streams next week, and I'm happy to talk shop then. Yes, if you are not subscribed to the Onyx Path YouTube channel, Twitch channel, you'll have to wait a week to watch this VOD on the Onyx Path's Twitch channel. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can link that to your Twitch account for a Prime Gaming account, which does give you a bunch of free games every month, but it also gives you one free subscription. Lasts for 30 days. It does not automatically renew, but you pick a channel, you subscribe to that channel with it for free, in air quotes, because you paid for Amazon Prime. You get the benefits of a Tier 1 subscription, and the channel gets the benefits of a Tier 1 subscription. And here at twitch.tv/theonyxpath, that means you can watch any video, any stream, sorry, on demand the minute that it airs, essentially. If you do not want to do that, or cannot afford to, completely understand that, this video will be going up on my YouTube channel in a week's time. That's Twitch. That's youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles. I think it's linked to my Linktree. Should probably fix that if it isn't. And I'm happy to answer questions in the YouTube comment section. No one ever takes me up on that. In fact, the only comments I've had recently are crypto bots, so that's cool. It would be apt if this were Trinity Continuum Anima, but it isn't. It's Adventure. Regardless, I'm just waffling right now. Reminder for those who are not here at the start of the show. Best place to get any information on the Onyx Path publishing schedule, events, that kind of thing is the Monday meeting notes. The pertinent details, the next crowdfunding campaign they are doing is Monster Kingdoms. That will probably be on BackerKit. Monster Kingdoms is the third of the Earthbane Cycle games following The World Below and At the Gates. If you were one of the people who backed the previous crowdfunding campaign, that is Pugmire Unleashed, thank you for validating me because I was a contributing writer to that. And if you were one of the people who watched the Pugmire Unleashed actual play that I ran with some European friends of mine, European-based friends of mine, huge thanks. Hopefully you had a good time. That was a fun actual play to put together and run, and hopefully I can do more in the future. The other salient point being that the Onyx Path Publishing Convention Fiction Contest is over, the votes have been counted, and the winners were, in first place, The One Who Shines by Esteban Fernandez. Again, I apologize, Quieros? That is a short story set in creation for Exalted. The first runner-up was Hollow Men by C. Truman Aitken, and that was for Changeling the Dreaming. And the second runner-up was From the Shadow of Doubt by C.A. Wallace. That was also an Exalted set short story. I did this earlier in the stream. I'm going to do it again because I can. If you want to read my short story, the link I've just dropped in chat, it will give it's a 100% discount link. There's no two ways about it. It's a short story set in the realms of Pugmire called Silence. I'm happy with it. It's weird fiction, so if you don't vibe with weird fiction as a genre, completely understand. Heavily inspired by Control and the Remedyverse. I'm pretty sure that is quite obvious from reading it, but I really don't care. I think that's all YouTube. That discount link will be in the video description, but again, it's only valid until the 14th of August. It'll be there if I remember to put it there anyway. I think that's it. So the next show on the channel is, if you've enjoyed this show, Travis is also doing a writing stream tomorrow. I don't know what time it is off the top of my head, but while I'm talking, I'm frantically clicking through Discord to find the schedule. Looks like it will probably be 1 PM Eastern. I don't know if Travis is going to go into as much detail as I've been. Yes, StoryPath, YouTube at Comrade Bubbles. I can find, I can share links. I have that power. Give me 1 second, and I'll just drop the link in chat. Fair warning, I do also play a lot of video games on there, so most of the content on my channel is video game streams. But hey, just put me on the background. I know a not small proportion of my community just have me on the background while doing stuff. So, but equally, if you specifically look up the behind the screen playlists, you will find every season of this show. Don't watch the first season. It was incredibly rough, and no one needs to watch that season. I cannot stress enough. Start with, I think, season 3, and you'll be happy. Don't say I didn't warn you. More to the point, I think season 3 was the first Onyx Path one. I'm pretty sure before that it was just D&D. I think like season 1 was D&D prep for my home game, and then season 2 was some world building. Oh no, season 2 is Scion. Cool. Skip the first season, go straight to Scion. The first season is just behind the screen RPG prep. Save yourself the hassle. Don't put yourself through that. No one needs to see it. I think that's it. I don't know when I started watching. It's been a while. It has. Well, it was Call of Cthulhu, wasn't it? That was 2019, I think. Or was that when that Call of Cthulhu game came out? It has been a while anyway. Oh, I could find out. I really could. Yeah, it was a while ago. I can find that information out if you really want to, but we don't have to. Anyway, I'm digressing. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Onyx Path do as well. If you're not following the channel here on twitch.tv/OnyxPath, those of you in chat wondering why I keep saying that, it's for the YouTube audience. Please do consider following it. Obviously, you'll get... just to make you feel old. Fair. You'll get email notifications as long as Twitch is working when people go live. Highly recommend following the channel for the annual online convention if you have any interest in Onyx Path game lines, panels regarding them, or to know where the actual plays are happening. As I said, the next stream on the channel will be tomorrow, I believe at 1 PM Eastern, and that will be Travis Legg doing a StoryPath Nexus ride-along. And then the... You know what? I have the pre-roll folder on my hard drive. I could just look in it. Why am I like this? Yes, Wednesday at 1 PM Eastern. And then it is the mainstay Trinity Continuum Aeon Asia game from, I think, Simulacra's dude? No. Yeah, I think Simulacra Studios. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll let the post roll a few times so that you can see what's coming up on the channel. But as I'm in the habit of saying, until I see you next time, please do stay safe. Please do stay healthy. Please do stay wholesome. Sorry. Much love to you all. Goodbye.